Hello, my name is Cindy Lansford, and I'm a member of Alpha Chapter of Phi Beta Mu, and I'm located in Keller, Texas. I am also a member of the Board of Directors for Phi Beta Mu International, and this new project, Melodies Minds Chats with Composers, is being implemented by this organization. Today, I am lucky to speak with Leroy Osmon, who is coming to us from Merida, Mexico. I worked hard at that pronunciation. I have known Leroy for many years and played his compositions as well for many years. For some of you, this may be a new introduction, and for some, it may be like catching up with an old friend. So, welcome, Leroy. Tell us first a little bit about Merida, and before we dig into your life before you lived there, what brought you to move to Mexico?
Well, first and foremost, thank you so very much, and it's good to see you after too many years.
A
Let's
lot of
say
years.
I'm not going to put my glasses on because I see there's so much reflection and everything, so I'll do this without my glasses. But not, I don't have to read anything, so we're good. Um, I came here, and by the way, that's a very popular question with me.
Mhm.
Many friends said, "Oh, you'll move to Mexico, to Yucatan, and you'll be back in a year or two." And I moved here permanently just a little over 25 years ago. So, in if you remember, my final years of teaching were in Baytown and Fort Bend, so both sides of Houston. Uh, I did a lot of European concert tours with a group that I call the Texas Symphonic Band, a pickup group from students, band directors, and so on, private
Mhm.
lessons. And my assistant in Fort Bend was Tom Eastman, a wonderful teacher. And before the tour started, his wife passed away. And then shortly after that, 2 weeks before we were to leave, he had a heart attack. And while in the hospital, they discovered that he had lung cancer, so he had to cancel the trip. So my wife and I said, Tom, when you're through with all your chemo and everything, we'll take you anywhere in the world you want to go. And he said, I want to go to Merida, Yucatan. And I said, where's Merida, Yucatan? And my wife, being of superior intelligence, said, look straight across the so we came here in November of 95. Tom was kind of too sick to get out of the hotel, so he stayed in the hotel a lot. And we rented a car and drove around. We fell in love with the place.
Wow,
Came in the spring of 96, bought a house.
that's a, that's really it's kind of a little bit of a fairy tale, honestly. So
Living here has been like living in a fairy tale.
that's awesome.
I've traveled a lot, so I know there's a lot of other places in the world other than the United States. And there is no amount of money that would get me to move from where I live now.
Wow.
It's an
Well,
amazing place.
it must be. Okay. Why don't you start and tell us where you grew up and kind of your background, a little bit about your public school band experience and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. I started in East Texas. Um, I started the end of the fourth grade. A man named Roy Swicegood, who some people my age would probably remember that name,
I know that name.
came to our school and at the end of the fourth grade in May and said, we'd like to talk to you about being in band. So I went home and told my mother, all right, this man came and I'd like to be in band. And she said, well, what do you want to play? And I said, well, he showed me this long, skinny black thing, and I don't remember the name of it, but I really liked that. So I became a clarinet player,
Okay.
and then in turn, saxophone in the jazz band, of course. I went through public school in East Texas. I was planning on going to Indiana University. Things didn't work out and Dr. Charles Wiley, who was my mentor and father figure for the most part, uh, said, "You don't want to go there at any rate. Come to Lamar University. We will offer a degree in composition if you come." They didn't offer it at the time. So the first semester I was a clarinet major. Then they got approval and they started the theory composition degree.
So when did you get the composition bug?
Uh, I wrote my first piece, semi-embarrassing story. I wrote my first piece when I was 14, and of course it was for band. And I didn't know a lot about the other end, being in front of a band. I knew from playing clarinet, bass clarinet, and something that I seldom admit in public, alto clarinet. Uh, so uh, I decided I was going to write a piece, and like any good composer, I was going to write it for my girlfriend at the time. So I had lots of oboe solos in it because she played a oboe. But the problem was this, that I wrote what I knew, parts. So I had a flute part, an oboe part, a clarinet part, and I would spread all those parts out over the dining room table, and I would go from this part to this part. It never dawned on me to do it on a score. Dawned on me. So I bring all these parts to my band director, and he says, "Where's the score?" I said, "Oh, well, I didn't write a score." He said, "Well, what am I supposed to use?" So we actually read the piece, decent band piece. Um, didn't perform it, we just read it. The
Did
first,
you end up writing brass parts too?
oh, I wrote
Oh,
everything.
okay.
In those days, very simple percussion parts, and if you're
Yeah.
familiar with
Oh,
music today, you
yes.
know my music
Mhm.
is no longer simple percussion parts.
Right.
I took Percy Granger to his word and made them an equal footing with every other section. So the first piece I actually ever had performed was the end of the Firebird, an arrangement I made for our high school marching band.
Oh, wow.
And we actually came off to the field to the fanfare part, the 7/8 fanfare part in the Firebird suite. So
Wow.
that was the first thing I ever had performed that I transcribed. And then when I went on to Lamar University, Dr. Wiley was absolutely a man of his word. I had numerous opportunities there, and he performed my first suite for band called From Our Fathers. Um, and everything I wrote got played, just like he said. He said, "You go
Well,
to Indiana, you won't get anything played till you're a senior. You come here, you get played all the time."
you know, if your East Texas high school band came off the field to Firebird, they were a little bit ahead of their time. Now, I mean,
Um,
that's pretty, that's
well, my East
pretty
Texas
up
high
there.
school band marched to Alfred Reed, Russian Christmas
Oh,
music, marched to 1812 Overture.
okay. Well,
Uh,
there you
we
go.
were a 6 to 5 military band,
Oh, yes.
did marches, and we did big show type pieces, but we did
Mm-hmm.
it in a 6 to 5 setting. So
Oh,
and to be honest with you, that seems like another lifetime, We're
yeah.
talking more than 60 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, but I went on from Lamar University, graduated, and then I started teaching. And I actually went back to where I went to school and was the assistant director for a couple of years. Then I moved to Nederland, Texas, where I was the band director at one of the junior highs.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just kind of worked my way around in different schools and over the
Well,
years.
you mentioned that you taught in Baytown, and if I knew that, I'd forgotten it because I'm from Baytown.
Well, that's
And
that's my last
that
five
was your
years
last
were
job.
in
Yeah.
Baytown. Yeah.
Well, and so all the 6 to 5 and all that kind of stuff, I'm very familiar with that. So I really grew up with that. So, were there any composers or anything that kind of were your inspiration, to get this
Um,
composition started?
well, my senior year, I was in the Texas All-State Band a couple of years. My senior year, I had the glorious opportunity to have Frederick Fennell as the conductor. and who in turn became a good friend of mine and my
Mm-hmm.
wife's. And actually, one of his last interviews was done by my wife. Uh, so one of the pieces we played was Fanfare and Allegro,
Oh.
and J. Clifton Williams came into the
Mm-hmm.
rehearsal. And I was fascinated with music, and I already decided. Actually, I decided when I was about 12 years old that I was going to be a composer. I,
Wow.
I informed my parents that I was going to be a great composer, and my mother, who played the violin in school, thought that was wonderful, and my father thought, "What a waste of your time." So, so 11 Grammy entry list nominations later, two Pulitzers, 26 ASCAP awards, etc. I proved him wrong
Wrong.
at any rate.
Yes.
So, yeah, I taught all in and around the Houston area.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I always felt like I always moved up in jobs. And actually, I thought I was going to finish my career from 1984. I thought I was going to finish it in Huffman, Texas.
Okay.
Huffman up because I just loved it there, and they loved
Mm-hmm.
me. Everything was great. And in fact, that's when I decided to go back to school, do my master's and doctorate. Uh, and my my superintendent, his he was a French horn player in D.O. Wiley's band,
Oh,
Dr.
yeah.
Charles Wiley's
Mm-hmm.
father. So we had a great alliance there. And when I did my doctorate, he gave me time off 2 days a week. I got to go to the University of Houston to do my
Wow.
residency. So I did my doctorate at a later age. I taught for a little 18 years before I went
Mm-hmm.
back to school. Uh, but then I just loved Huffman. But then along comes Rick Yancey
Oh.
and says, "Well, our band director at Quail Valley retired, and you'd really like it." He'd heard my little 28 piece junior high band from
Mm-hmm.
Huffman, which won outstanding performance at Six Flags that year. And he'd heard them judge them actually, and he said, "We really like to get you." And of course, I was in an old wooden building in Huffman and everything, so he just come and look at the band hall. That was
I
really.
and
I went.
boy,
That,
Fort
he said
Bend was just cutting edge back
it,
then.
it was the Taj
Yes.
Mahal.
Yes, it
It was
was.
the Taj Mahal.
Yes.
And he said, and I'll say this because it's funny and it's true. He said the only problem that I could see is the assistant director. He's a little difficult, a bit of a curmudgeon. Well, when I met Tom, he and I were best of friends from day one, and we just loved working with each other. When they closed our school, uh, to make it an alternative center. We requested to teach together, but that didn't happen. And that's when I went on to Baytown,
Mm-hmm.
thanks to Dennis Eichler, another
Mm-hmm. Oh,
colleague.
yes.
Dennis actually taught for me uh, in 1970, 73, 74, 75 in Corpus Christi, Texas, a short time.
Really?
Yeah,
Well, that's
yeah,
right whenever I was in college. So,
yeah. So,
yeah, I'll
so
tell you.
my public school career was 31 years
Mm-hmm.
in and around Houston, and the last 6 years of it, I also taught at the University of Houston. I taught orchestration as an adjunct, and my favorite class I taught music appreciation to non-music majors.
Oh,
Loved it.
okay.
100 students in the lecture hall, and I absolutely loved it. So I had a long teaching career, um, and actually, I still teach. I've got private composition students,
Mm-hmm.
and I left Merida back in 2006 for 4 years. I went to the state of Veracruz and taught at the conservatory in Jalapa, and really enjoyed that. Taught composition, but came back to warm weather. But I continue to teach composition only, though, not bad.
So, did you, throughout your teaching career, did you write all through that?
Oh
Do,
yeah. Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. I've been my first published work, thanks to Dr. Charles Wiley,
Uh-huh.
I was with TRN Publications,
Oh, yes.
1973. He started the company, and he said, "You're the first person I want as a TRN
Oh,
composer."
wow.
He
Wow.
published my Hebrew folk song suite.
I played it.
It was on the list for 25 years and
Yeah.
never figured out why it came off, but it was on the list for 25 years. And I get people still writing me saying, "We're going to do your Hebrew folk song suite #1 at UIL." And I said, "You better check the
You
list. It's
better
not."
check that list. Yeah. Well, before when after we talked the other evening, and I went and kind of looked to see what was on the list, and anymore, and I did notice that. But you have a second Hebrew. Do you have a second and third
And a
Hebrew
fourth.
folks? Okay, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
But you have still quite well. I'm going to
I
say.
have a lot of works on the UIL list now.
You do, but they're on more grade 3, 4, 5, and 6. And whenever I first knew of you, they were more on grade 2 and 3, I think. Now, that was a long time ago, so don't hold me to
Well,
that.
and back in the 80s,
Yes.
70s and 80s, and I still write young band works. My
Okay.
last performance at Midwest 2, 3 years ago was grade 2 work.
Okay.
And actually, the AA honor band in Texas did the work
Awesome. Yeah.
at the MEA. I
Hmm.
still write young band music. But my young band music in the early 1990s took a very drastic change. You probably know my music from the Hebrew folk song
I
suite
do. Hmm.
or from American songs. And I did a lot of folk song settings because I was just in the late 70s and early 80s, and I still am fascinated by Percy Grainger.
Hmm.
So I thought this was just a great thing for bands to do. And then, well, in 73, I met this gentleman that you probably know, and he profoundly changed my life, my teaching ability, my skills, and my concept of composition. His name is Eddie Green. And I
Well,
met
he
him
didn't change my concept of composition, but all the other things he changed for me too.
yeah. And when I went to Pearland, part of the deal with me going to Pearland in 75, 76 was that I study with Eddie, which
Hmm.
was great and easy because he came to my band hall every Monday of the school year. The parent organization hired him as a consultant.
And it
And
was
then,
the best day of the week, wasn't
oh, absolutely. And when
it?
school was over and rehearsals were over, I went to Jack Ferris's house and sat down on the living room floor with Eddie and Joe Dixon.
Oh, wow.
And I'd already known Eddie, and in '73 I heard his band, his honor band, and I met him, made a point to meet him, and because I was in awe of what I heard,
Hmm.
and basically he told me then, he said, "Well, I heard your tape that you sent me from Nederland." He said, "That's a good band. You made first divisions and everything." I said, "Yeah, it's a good band. It's not a great band. What you do is a great band." So
Yeah.
he changed everything. And in the early 90s, he said, "I know your chamber music." One of the few people that know my chamber music, and I have a long list of chamber music. "I know your chamber music. And I'm wondering why you don't write band music like you write chamber music." And I said, "Because nobody will play it." And he said, "I'll play it." And which he did. He recorded it. Fanfare Magazine, the volume 3, the music of Leroy Osmon. Fanfare Magazine said, "The music of Leroy Osmond is the future of young band music." Boy, was he wrong. So to this to this day, they still write, and John Edmondson was a dear, dear friend of mine, but they still write like John did, and
Yeah.
they still write like Anne, and they don't. Nobody uses the complexity of harmonies, the extended percussion. Uh, so the UIL committees in those days looked at my music like, what is wrong with this guy? You know, uh, David's Lyre, a piece that David Holsinger enjoyed so much. It's a grade
Hmm.
2 piece, but David did it with the Louisiana All-State Band. He said, "This is a great piece."
Hmm.
Eddie recorded it and said, "This is a wonderful piece. for a young band that nobody will ever play, and if they do, they'll never play it right. It's all kinds of very complex harmony, not technically difficult. Uh, One member of the UIL selection committee in those days told somebody that got back to me that said, we couldn't figure out what this was about. I mean, it seemed like the tuba part was like four or five different notes just here and there, and we just didn't get it. I got that exact same comment from a committee member 5 years ago. So things little has changed. Good friend of mine's been involved in that, and I submitted a piece called Alush, which Alush is like in the Mayan world, which I live in the land of the Maya.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a leprechaun, a little person that plays good tricks and bad tricks on you.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh, so I wrote a piece called Alush for children, grade 2, and then I wrote a piece called Chikungunya. Chikungunya is a disease that you get like dengue fever from mosquito bites, and
Mm-hmm.
we were in the midst of a chikungunya epidemic here. So I wrote that piece, and they're very different young band pieces, but very playable. And I asked this person that was on the committee who actually proposed it, and they said, the guy looked at it and said, I don't get it. And this friend of mine said, well, it's not just for you to get, it's for other people to get also. And I said, we need music like this on the list.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just the way it is. But thank goodness there's been regime changes, you might say, and my big works have made it on the list.
Yes.
Uh, some huge works. In fact, my second ballet is on the list. That's a 58-minute work. Now they can do the ballet in scenes or acts, and
Yeah.
which is what it says they can do.
Right.
Uh, the In the Land of Green Lightning that I wrote for the retirement of Eddie Green is on the list. There's my incantations. It's a Mayan incantation.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably one of the coolest things I've ever written. But all these things got on the list. I'm very happy. I'm very proud of that. But I'd still like to see my young band stuff done because young bands like doing that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Small children like that. I did my March 104 my last year
I played it.
Yeah,
I
I
played it
know.
Midwest.
That's right. I know you did.
Yeah.
But I did that at contest, and three judges. One judge said March, nothing, wrote nothing. One judge wrote, well, it's a march. And the other judge wrote, I really don't know what to say other than I think they fell apart in the middle of it.
Oh my
As
gosh.
you might remember, they individually start slowing down like they're junior high kids just getting
Sure.
lost in something. And, so, but I did that my last year. But I did continue writing. And anytime anybody like contacts me about writing something for them, I tell them always the same thing. Uh, if you got a performance for me and can get me a tape, a good performance, TMEA, TBA,
Mm-hmm.
Midwest, like
Mm-hmm.
that, I'll do it for you for $300.
Oh wow.
And other composers, which I won't mention their names, but other composers said, man, you need to stop doing that.
I was going to say you're not going to be popular with some people.
No, no, but my newest band work happens to also be another ballet, The Princess and the Wind. And it is a major, major work. And it was premiered in April of this year with the Salem Community Band with John Skeleton conductor. John's been associated with that band for 50 years, and they commissioned this work for their 50th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
So I still write band music. I still write orchestra music. I do a lot of pieces, chamber ensembles, because I host a chamber music series here in Merida with members of the symphony orchestra. Because in the year 2001, I worked with the governor to create the symphony. we were the only city in Mexico of 1 million people that had no symphony orchestra. So
Wow.
um, his comment was, if you can come up with the money, we don't have any money, thinking the gringo will go away. And about 6 weeks later, I had $186,000 committed, and we started the symphony.
There
And
you
it's
go.
going strong and getting better and better. So I'm very active. I'm still writing. On my drafting table is a concerto for viola for Nikolai Dimitrov, the principal violist with the National Symphony of Mexico, and that will be performed in probably the fall of 2026. And then I just finished editing. I've got the parts to edit. I don't engrave. I write music. I don't do finale like some composers. I
Hmm.
still do paper. I still do notebooks. I just had a cat jump up
I
here.
know. I'm so happy about
That's
that.
that's Gingy. Um, and but I have an engraver here, a young man. He's 60 years old, young compared to me. But he's been with me for 25 years now as my engraver.
Hmm.
So he does
Um,
he does all my engraving for me. I just write.
well, that's awesome. That's the fun stuff. Anyway, so you started obviously here in Texas. When did your stuff start seeping out of Texas? I know you were with TRN at the beginning.
TRN and then RBC. And
Okay.
RBC came about when I wrote my first symphony. I
Okay.
was studying with Fisher Tull, and I am the sum of all my teachers. Without the teachers I've had, I would not be anywhere. Uh, I had, for a brief time, I'm always so proud to say, J. Clifton Williams was my first composition teacher. My second composition teacher was Paul Holmes. It was a unique situation. He'd never had a private student before, so it was different. Then my master's, I studied with Fisher Tull, and my doctorate, I studied with Michael Horbit and David Ashley White, who writes mostly choral music, but he was an oboe player from Alice, Texas. And
Really?
my doctorate, I did all my DMA work at Moore School of Music, my master's at Sam Houston, my undergrad at Lamar University. So, yeah, I'm a sum of my teachers. But I was writing a suite, and Dr. Tull said, "Nah, this isn't really a suite." He said, "I think you've written your first symphony." So, uh, TRN, Dr. Wiley said it's just too huge of a work for me to publish for the engraving costs. In those days, it
Hmm.
was hammer in the notes and metal
Yeah.
plates.
Yeah.
And so he said, try RBC, and RBC was great. I had a 27-year agreement with them. Anything I write, they published.
Wow.
Sight
Yeah.
unseen, no questions, anything. Like my fourth symphony is for 8 tubas and 8 percussionists. My wife will tell you it's perhaps the greatest thing I've ever written. It is a great work. The second movement will scare the bejeebies out of you.
Well, there you go. Well, so I want to talk just a little bit about where all you've been. So you live in Mexico. How many countries have you been to?
Oh my goodness. Um,
A
I've
lot.
been all over Europe,
Hmm. Okay.
Canada, all over Mexico. I haven't been to South America. I haven't been to the Orient. I want to go to India, but I have not. With traveling today and my age, I don't think I'll make it. But I've done concerts in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, in Belgium, in France, in Liechtenstein, in Austria, in Germany. There's somebody else I'm forgetting because of 7 countries in Europe I've done concerts in. My symphony number one was presented in Manchester. Uh, so, of course, I was there for that. Wales, Cornwall, never been to Scotland. I used to travel a lot when I was young, but traveling when you get old is not that much fun.
It's more difficult. Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
So band, orchestra, chamber music. What do you do the most of now?
Um, Chamber music, small orchestra and chamber music. I still try to do at least one band work a year.
Okay.
But my friends here are orchestra. I auditioned all the wind and brass and wind players, and many of them are still here after 20 something years. So if I write something, I get it done. And the orchestra director at the university, who was my dearest friend, passed away last year, but he commissioned 16 works from me for string orchestra and soloist. So
That's
I have
awesome.
orchestra, solo English horn, solo, you name it, I've written it. Viola and flute, duet with string orchestra, piano. Uh, so that's predominantly what I do because like I say, I run a chamber music series. So it's
Mm-hmm.
very easy to get your music played if you are the person who runs the series.
Mm-hmm. True. True.
But I do a lot of solo vocal things lately with voice with chamber orchestra.
Do you do stuff for large choir and large chorales?
I have three choral works, but that's it.
Okay.
They're not published, and my newest publisher, when RBC sold, I moved to Alray, Alry, Alray Publications, and they were chamber music. But when I talked with Matt Johnson, he said, "If you will come," I said, "But you don't do band and stuff." He said, "If you come with Alray, we will publish everything," and they do now. They do band works, they do everything.
Awesome.
But I met him at Midwest
Okay.
after talking with Don Beershank, a name you know,
Mm,
uh,
oh, yeah.
and after J.W. Pepper had bought RBC, and I asked Don, should I be worried that he was no longer in charge of my music? And he
Mm-hmm.
said, I would look out for your own interest.
Right.
So, so I walked around the corner, and there's All Ray Publications, and I got to looking at his music, and he had four chamber works by John Alden Carpenter. I've loved his music, and you can't find his music hardly anywhere. Popular composer, 1930s, 40s, American. And we got to talking, and I said, by the way, I'm looking for a composer. My name's Laura. And he said, I know who you are. I said, good start. So we met the next morning for breakfast. We shook hands. I have the same deal. Anything I write, he publishes. And I brought him my students' works, new students as well as old students. Dr. Kenneth Booker, you may know that name. He was at
No,
Lee
I don't know that
College.
name.
Was
Oh,
at Lee
oh, yeah,
College.
yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I asked him to write a work for a presentation I did at Midwest 2 years ago, and Alray is now publishing his music, as
Well,
well as my 18-year-old student in Canada. When she was 16, they published her first work. She stole the show last month with her newest chamber work she wrote for here in Meadow. In fact, she flew down for the concert, which we were very happy.
that's cool. Yeah.
So yeah, I do chamber music
Mhm.
mostly, but I'm pretty much up for writing anything.
Well, so I know this is like asking if you have a favorite child. Do you have a very favorite work that you have done over the years?
I've thought about that, and
Okay.
I really don't have a single work. Like most composers throughout history that have asked that question, it's whatever they're working on or have just finished is their favorite work. I mean, when Elgar, after he'd finished his Second Symphony, was asked what's his greatest work, he said, "Well, my Second Symphony." Uh, I would say, and I've been told, R. Winston Morris, who was a tuba teacher 57 years at Tennessee Tech, dear friend of mine, I sent him the score and the sound file of The Princess and the Wind. He said, greatest work you've done. Uh, I like it a lot. I think if you put a gun to my head, I'd have to say The Garden of Earthly Delight. The second ballet I did that Eddie Green recorded and did it at WASB, the opening of WASB in 2015 in outside of San Francisco. That's probably my greatest. My wife would say Zeraim, which is for voice and chamber. That's what I received my first Pulitzer nomination for. Or she would say Chiruhas, which I received my second. But she has a passion for my Fourth Symphony. I love the Fifth Symphony. David Bertman did the premiere of it a year ago, uh, but it turned out to be a monster of a work. and he was not satisfied. It's not available to hear because he was not satisfied with the performance. So he's going to come back, he says, and record it before he retires.
I hope
Uh,
he does.
it's a huge, incredibly difficult work to do.
Is it on?
Stumped the University of Houston band. So that tells you how difficult it is.
Yes, that does tell you how difficult it is. And, he's one of my favorite people in the
Oh
world.
yeah,
So,
absolutely love David.
yeah, I do too. So, the thing when we were talking a little bit before this interview, you just were surprising me in so many ways. And one of the things that delighted me was that you had written so many tuba.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
That's just the cutest
Five,
thing.
five tuba concertos.
Yeah,
I actually have a sheet somewhere. I may even have it instead. I have a whole sheet of just, I had it set up of just my tuba works. It's 2 pages front and back.
that's
I
unbelievable.
have duets I have duets for tuba and flute. I have 10 concert etudes for tuba, recorded by Dave Kirk, the Houston Symphony. Uh, the five concertos, four of them are on YouTube. Oh no, three of them are. The fourth concerto for tuba has never been performed. It was commissioned by Sergio Carolina, undoubtedly the greatest tuba player to have ever lived, but he could never get the funding together to put the concert together. It's for
Hmm.
10 trombones, one percussionist, and tuba. And
Wow.
it's pretty awesome. He said if I'd cut it down, so it's a 28-minute tuba concerto, and that's kind of
Hmm.
long. So if
Hmm.
you cut it down, I could probably get a performance on it, and I just wait.
Yeah, it'll happen,
I
hopefully.
live long
So,
enough.
well, I tell you, that's
Aren't you
that.
aren't you going to ask me my favorite composers? Everybody always wants to know my
Well,
favorite.
I don't know. I was
You
going
probably
to
already
ask
know
you.
some of them.
Well, tell me who you. Well, Percy Granger is one
Well,
of
I
them.
started off with Charles Ives. When I was in high
Well,
school, I fell in love with Charles Ives, a gentleman
who
who ran
wouldn't? To me, I just love him.
the sheet music department at Swicegood. I walked in the store one day and he said, "I bought this record and it's just really weird music." And immediately I thought of you. So
Hmm.
he gave me that. I just fell in love with it. And then Ives and Granger were my first early influences. And then I really got into an analyzing Ravel. And I would say Ives defines my concept of music, and Ravel defines my harmonic language. And people listen to my music will say, "No way." Well, I took what Ravel did and just expanded it, extended the harmonic language a little bit more. But you can hear Ravel in so much of my music, just blatant pieces of it, you know. And that used to bother me, but then I heard Stravinsky say, the interviewer said, I hear that you like Mozart. And he said, "Oh, yes, I use his music a lot. And I use his music."
Yeah,
And he said,
yeah.
"I feel I have the right to do that." And I said,
There
I
you
understand.
go.
I
Yeah,
understand. I feel I have
yeah,
the right to do
for
that
sure.
also.
Well,
A composer is really a product of his environment. So what you do day in and day out affects what you write. Your friends, your ups, your downs, your relationships. Tchaikovsky was asked what inspired him, and he jokingly answered, "What I ate for breakfast." But that's true.
yeah, that is true. Yeah,
Everything everything affects the way you feel, and that affects the way you write.
sure. Well,
My music is dark. My wife's always criticizing, that's her one criticism, that my music is often too dark, but that's what I hear and that's what I feel. So,
yeah, there you go. Well, if you had to say, what do I do outside of music, what would that be?
well, thank you for the plug. What I do outside of music, I sell real estate.
Well, you're welcome. Do you sell real estate there?
I work with Mexico International. It's the largest real estate company and the oldest real estate company here on the peninsula. And I own the North office, which is called Merida Zona Diamante, the Diamond Zone, that specializes in clients from Mexico City and Monterrey who want property in the North, where I live. Uh, Mexico International specializes in the old colonials and Centro and the beach.
Oh, wow.
I'm a division of the big company, not about to
Hmm.
go in competition with my boss. So that's what I do, and it
There you
takes a
go.
lot of time. But I love that, and I love music.
Yeah.
Still love them both. I'm 77. I hope to go 3 to 5 more years at least doing both. And I hope that I'm like Vaughan Williams. I'm writing my next symphony when I'm 86.
I hope you are too. Well, this has just been really fun. And, when we started this project, it was hopefully we have people who know you, people who are my age, younger, but also people who are young and may not know you. And just from listening to this, even the last 15 to 20 minutes, I thought this is an education. It just really is fun. It's fun to listen to, and so I'm going to promote it a lot. You
Well,
know,
I think it's a great project, a great concept. And you'd asked me when my music moved out of here's somebody else passing
oh,
through.
how pretty! There you
This
go.
is Luna.
Hi, Luna.
She has a little a moon on her on her white moon on her
Hmm.
head. But I've always been much more popular outside of Texas than in Texas because with my generation, people saw me as a junior high school band director. When I did the Scott Stress Band Reel by Granger for band, we did it. It was premiered at Corpus Christi Buck Festival,
Hmm.
and somebody came up and said, "Oh, you're that guy that writes all that junior high school band music." So, I was stereotyped early on as you're the guy who writes junior high band
Hmm.
music. But most people don't know. I have 3 ballets. I have 5 symphonies. I have, with the viola concerto, be 13 concertos.
I'm going to totally agree with that, and so I hopefully this will be eye-opening for a lot of people. So,
Yeah.
yeah, very good.
So, but the teacher thing, when you're doing your interviews, could I suggest that you mention to all of the people doing them that that they ask the people who they studied with?
Okay.
Because and here's a recommendation to all composers out there, wannabe composers that are listening. When you study with somebody, uh, do a family tree. I've got a family tree. I generally keep it here, but I remembered I took it to get it printed. It's on the back of the program we did in May. Uh, if you follow me, and I have all my students above me on the list now,
Hmm.
so they can
Hmm.
so they can say, I studied with Dr. Leroy Osmon. He studied with Michael Horvath, who studied with Paul Hindemith and Aaron Copland. And they studied with Nadia Boulanger. And Nadia Boulanger studied with, and they studied with. And if you go back 5 generations of composers, one of my teachers
Hmm.
was a guy named Beethoven.
Wow,
So when I can say I'm 5 degrees separation from Beethoven, to me, that means a lot.
that's a lot. That's
My
significant.
students, it means a lot
Yes. Yeah.
because we are the product. I was a successful band director because of Charles Wiley, Richard Cole, and Eddie Green.
Yep.
I was a successful composer because of my teachers.
There you go. Wow.
So that's something I think is real important in this project that people know. You need to find out who you studied with, and you need to appreciate who you studied with.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to pass that on. And as soon as this is, ready to go to presses, I'll make sure that everybody knows that it's available. It's just been a pleasure. I know that people that are watching this won't realize how late it is. This is way past my bedtime.
Well, it's 9:15 at night, met at a time, so it's 10:15 in
Yeah.
Texas.
But it's just really been a delight. And thank you so much. I know you're
Absolutely.
busy. After talking to you, I know you're really, really busy, but it's just been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
I have piano piano concerto parts to edit tonight still.
Okay, well, you better get busy.
Cindy,
So
it's been a pleasure seeing you again. You will be
just,
at TBA?
I will be there, and you'll be there?
I, I will definitely be there. Bought my ticket already.
Okay, I will see you then, for
We'll
sure.
see.
Okay, all
Thank you
right.
for
Thank
everything. I
you.
appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
Good night.
Uh-huh.